Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. We are all dealing with lots of different things in life. Could be stress, could feel just out of sorts, out of whack. Maybe your balance is off in terms of life. You're not living that joyous feel where you bounce out of bed and you just can't wait for the day to start. Why is that? What do we do with that? How do we fix that? We're going to talk with somebody who has lots of different tools in his, I call it the tool chest, to help you out, many different modalities, but it essentially all comes down to energy work. And he's got a lot to enlighten us with today. Tim Michaels joins us here on the program. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Good, Steve. How are you this morning? Afternoon. See, the day escapes me way too quickly.
Very well. It's all good. Well, you know what? Somebody might be watching and listening this morning. So for you people, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Extraterrestrials, whoever has decided to drop in, welcome.
You have many things that you can help somebody with or support them with, right down to Reiki. You're a crystal energy guide, a coach as well. What do you think is the common denominator with people that you talk to today? What are they saying? What are they feeling? What's going on?
So I'm going to put it in this perspective. So people listening, and for yourself, Steve, I have a long background in human resources. I left a large insurance company at a certain point because it was no longer good for me. So that was in 2016. In my mid-40s, and people would say, well, you were having a midlife crisis. And as a spiritual person, it just became clearer and clearer and clearer. If I wanted to be more and more stressed and lose, at that point, even more hair, I could just stay and be steadfast and suffer. So the first thing I want to address to everybody is that was my point to decide I'm not interested in suffering. It's not working. I don't feel noble. I don't feel good. That started me challenging my upbringing, challenging my spirituality. And then I went to work in healthcare. And interestingly enough, I just said to you, I made a decision to leave suffering. And I went to work in an environment that, first of all, is there to support you through suffering. But the clinicians seem to unconsciously have a desire to suffer along with the patient. So that began my work. I had an easy in. I was coaching leaders, I was coaching teams, I was coaching communication. And people would keep telling me about, I'm stressed, we don't have enough staff. And so I finally decided to ask them, are you happy being stressed? That question, believe it or not, led me to start coaching people in a more formal way, because we get used to doing something and we need somebody who can stand in front of us and ask. If it's working for you, don't change it. I hate to put it this way, but in healthcare, you don't get 6 hours to train somebody. So it starts like this. If you are happy, miserable, you can all go have a coffee break. The rest of you stay in the room with me, and we're going to start exploring how do we shift the moment in front of us without fixing anything around us. So I hope that gives a little bit of background.
Sure.
It was these people working so hard, especially during COVID, that what was I possibly going to do for them in 7 minutes? When, the whole process in COVID of donning and doffing, just putting in all the protective gear and taking it off could take 20 minutes. What was I going to do standing in the hallway outside of an intensive care unit that could bring them some relief? And it wasn't about sending them to a website when they finally got home, I'll be honest. So that's what brought me into this world of saying, I like your tool chest analogy. You have to be able to pull from all corners of the world, and you have to be able to park your ego doing this work. What I think could serve you isn't going to hit the mark. So I've got to be open to go to a different corner, pull something in and see if that works for you.
One thing is, a lot of this is clear, but the one thing that stands out above everything in my mind is we're all creatures of habit. I don't really like change. So it stands to reason that you're in a stressful situation. You just continue being in that stressful situation because you're so used to being in it, right? And then after a while, it just becomes who you are. It becomes life, but it shouldn't. It doesn't have to be that way.
Well, but also remember that the environment around you, let's say the people who love you a lot, they're trying to be helpful, and we use these phrases. You're not acting like yourself. You look really stressed. Have you slept lately? We're pointing out the obvious, and all that does to a human being who is from cavemen is you're looking like a woolly mammoth. So they're going to fight or run. I don't relax and listen to you. I get more agitated. I already know something, but I can't stop long enough. I can't figure it out. I don't have the language.
Mm.
So let's look at it this way. Even our language we use to describe things. How are you today? Oh, I'm so stressed. Me too. What are you stressed about? We start comparing it like it's a great vacation. The strength and courage it takes to tell the truth. Oh, wow, I'm not stressed today. I slept well. Home is going great. Supportive spouse. I'm here to work. I'm good. I'm sorry you're not. So if you need anything, let me know. Imagine if instead of using our mirror neurons, again, our biology, you smile, I want to smile back at you. You're stressed, I want to fit in. I don't even
Mm.
consciously know I'm doing it. So that's where these simple things, kind of like, can you take 2 feet? I remember a physician teaching me this. Get them to take from 2 feet in front of the door, ask them if they can stop and take a breath. And do you know what I discovered, Steve? Most people don't understand what breathing feels like.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
it was shocking to learn this. So I had it, and I'm not clinical. I'm dangerous, but I'm not clinical. So I had to start researching and understanding the diaphragm. And the thing that really, again, another layer that gets in there is giving people the freedom to have a belly. In order to take a nice, slow, deep breath, your ribs have to move out. That means you have to relax your abdominal muscles. And the number one thing, and especially in this country, nobody wants to admit that they might have a spare tire or a belly. We're all tightening all day long. Well, it's not going to help. If your breath gets stuck at your sternum, you're just going to hyperventilate and make things worse. So decide. First decision, whether it's coaching, a breathing class, or Reiki. Are you okay to have a belly today? Just today, in this hour, be okay. Let it expand. Let it fill with air. You're then going to feel how your muscles and body responds to relaxing. And it's hard. We are so conditioned to stand straight like a soldier. To relax our belly is a great starting point to discover what a deep breath feels like. So,
We don't know how to breathe. And if you look at Asian cultures, they just, because of their culture, take deep breaths and they don't have the same stress that we have. Quick story.
sure.
This is probably about 7 years ago. My friend's son was building a deck in the back of my house. And we just started having a conversation. Obviously, he's definitely a lot younger than me. And like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just always tired. Yeah, me too. What's going on there? It's like, I don't know. I just feel like weird. Like, after more conversation, we identified that we weren't breathing properly.
Mm,
Crazy as it sounds, it just came clear that, he's working short breaths. I'm stressed out, short breaths. I believe that even when you share this with somebody, take a deep breath, hold it, take another one, repeat. I believe that people just write it off and just, yeah, whatever, because they can't believe how easy it is to reset their system just by
um,
deep breaths,
mhm,
right?
mhm. Absolutely. So one of the ways I found to do it was to show if I was going to have 100 people in a room and do a training, and they were all rushing in from bedside practice, then I needed to get them to laugh in any way, shape, or form. And biologists will tell you that a good belly laugh will start to reset your autonomic system, will get you from the sympathetic over to the parasympathetic. So what does everybody love? Puppies and babies. So you show them that, you show them a way to laugh, and they start to relax. Then I can say to them, let's practice breathing. So I don't make it the focal point. When somebody arrives, and a long-term friend, Joan was a ICU and an emergency room nurse and all these kind of things. She would describe them as the nurse who ran down the hallway with their hair on fire, always in a state of panic. They're never going to hear you say, stop and take a breath. So we have to figure out how do we invite them into the moment. So that's your key about being present.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of quietly saying, wow, what do you need? Let them respond. And then you ask again, you seem really stressed, and I'd like to help you change it. Are you interested? Are you interested in feeling different? See, and I just made a mistake we all make. I said, you look stressed. How about saying, would you like to feel different right now? I would. Do you want to join me? Well, we don't have time. We do, we're just going to do this twice. And the other key is to offer to people, say, if you're standing or sitting at your desk, just look down at your feet. The quickest way to ground is look at your feet.
Hmm.
The minute you put your head down, you automatically disconnect from your conscious mind. So often, let's say in a meditation practice or something, they'll say soft gaze, but it means keep your head up and gaze down. Disconnect. You look at your feet, you take a slow breath, and it helps if you put your left hand over your belly button. And if you're not feeling it move, don't judge yourself. Just try it again until you feel your stomach move. And then notice your shoulders drop. And then we might be ready to say, so why did you come see me today? What do you want to work on? But I can't start there when you come in the door. Often in a Reiki practice, for example, a lot of times people come in, they go right on the table. I never allow that. It's not good for me. They always go to the chair. This is my practice room. There's a big comfortable chair. We sit knee to knee and eye to eye because we can share an electromagnetic field off our heart that way. And I can invite them to relax without telling them to. And then maybe breathe a little bit and then talk about why they came, take off a couple layers. And if they're ready to work, that's great. If they need more relaxation, then they're offered the table. So you mentioned the toolkit. You call me because you say your kitchen table wobbles. Well, all the chairs do too. And by the way, the lights don't work any longer. So why would you sit in the dark at a table that now doesn't wobble? Let's take a deep breath, figure out a good starting place, and then pick one of the tools.
I get the grounding thing. Thank you for just looking down, being it as simple. My feet have no shoes on at this moment, and they're on a grounding mat that goes to the grounding lug in an AC outlet. So I'm good at it. And I've gotten to the point, even in the last year, where I could walk outside and look at a tree, and I'm like, I need you bad. I'm coming over there right now. I gotta, maybe not hug. Don't want the neighbors to think I'm a little weird, but just touch the tree, be next to it, just to feel that grounding. So thank you for sharing that. It can be as, let's say you're in you're in a session at work, conference, meeting, whatever. You can easily just look down at your feet, bring yourself back, to balance center,
Absolutely.
right? Hmm.
You can easily take a deep breath with the understanding that if you don't want to huff it out because that's going to send a message to the leader of the meeting that you're frustrated, but you can take a nice nice slow deep breath
Sure.
and just naturally let it out your nose. The trick is to really remember that you have the choice to do it. So you're right. Walking outside, that wonderful moment in that old movie, for those who are old enough to remember Pretty Woman, where he goes outside and finally stands barefoot in the grass. That's his actual beginning of getting in touch with himself.
Yeah.
So again, you can look at other cultures. Japanese have a requirement under their health system that you go tree bathing. It literally just means you go to the tree gardens. You can lay, you can sit, you can hug them, but you must be around them a certain amount of time. That's one of their ways that they promote health. So, in this country, we look at our neighbors hugging a tree and we call protective services, especially if they're elderly. It's like, oh, poor neighbor. No.
Or look at the hippie, from back in the day, back if you look, 60s, if you're around then or whatever, if you look at them, it was all about, peace, love, happiness. Now I get it. Why that was done back then.
Right. So the reason, I would invite people to come and see me is I understand in our world, we have specialists. So if you're having a cardiac issue, you go to your cardiologist. If it's mental health, you go to a social worker, a psychiatrist, you go to a podiatrist, you call an electrician to fix your lights. I mean, so we have our specialists, but there is a role in every aspect. In building, it's a contractor. In healthcare, it's your primary care. You also have holistic doctors, and their role is to not focus just on the arm, even though you came in saying the arm's hurting. So the same thing applies in my work. I don't focus on one thing because it's not fun for me. And in a commitment to service, the service should be good for you. So I like having variety. It's not that I get bored, but the more that's around, the better for me. So that's why I mix things in, because every time you come to see me, you're not going to be the same person. So I can't believe a coaching session at the beginning is the right approach versus working with crystals. And I know when people hear crystals, they start thinking the same thing, hippies, or you've lost your mind.
Hmm.
So all I'm going to say to you is, I'm positive you and everybody listening has a lighter to light a candle and has a teeny weeny piece of quartz in it. And that tiny piece of clear quartz has enough power to generate a spark. It has piezoelectricity. So if I'm at a astrology fair and I'm buying crystals, I get what people might call the woo-woo effect. All I like to do is say to people, I won't go too far, but certain crystals come with an energy. If I can match them to yours, then all I'm doing is creating a bigger space for you to decide, do you want to change or heal? I'm not a healer. The crystals don't heal you. Tarot cards don't heal you, but they are ways to really focus and channel energy. And in that, let's say, bubble, you can set the intention. So
So
one of the
so
things,
so we're both woo woo because there
there
there's
you go. Is that your selenite? Is that your
that's
selenite?
that's what that is. It's always right there in front
Awesome.
of me, and I've got more up there. I do maybe future podcasts. We could even look at crystals, go deeper into it.
Sure.
I struggle with what ones to carry, what ones support this, and then I got a little concerned because I read something that said there can be a conflict between two, and I was like, oh, maybe I don't know, I shouldn't be carrying those. Out of my wheelhouse.
So all I'm going to say to you is this. I intentionally, when I learn, I have to seek out and find somebody who speaks a language I can enjoy. So I did my crystal energy training with a gentleman in England, Kyle Gray. He also has
Oh
written a
my
number of
gosh!
books.
Well, hold. I don't mean to cut you off. Can't believe you said that. I
Yeah.
just bought my first deck of tarot cards.
Which one did you get?
Kyle Gray's.
Did you get the oh, you got the tarot, not the oracle. Okay. Yeah,
No,
they're
wait,
great.
no. Let me take that back.
You got
They
the
were
oracle.
angel. They were angel
Yeah.
cards.
The angel oracle cards.
Yes. Yeah. And all right. The door just swung open. Can I ask you a
Spirit works
question?
that way. Spirit works that way, so go with it.
Okay. Um, I will pull cards. I'll pull three every day. I'll think about something and I'll just throw them in front of me. And this one feels good. Take that
Mhm.
one out. Or sometimes I'll just put them on the nightstand and that one looks like it, came out a little further. I'm going to take that one. Is the universe making me or allowing me to pick the cards that correspond to what I need to know? Is it just that that's why I picked that card?
So I'm going to answer you this way. The universe never forces anything on you. It will answer anything that you ask with a pure intent. Remember, if you state it like this, I'm so worried, show me a card to help me, you're going to get support to be worried.
Support
So
to the say that again.
support to be worried. If you state your intention this way as you're shuffling your cards and you're holding them, saying, I feel a little lost. I'd love direction about my career. Should I continue on this path? I
Sure.
love this work. I want to do more. Show me how. Right. But a lot of us start with, I hope, I think this will. No, 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 no. Secondly, angels and guides and anything else you want to think about are always available and they will come when invited. They don't make you do anything. You set the intent. So if you're open to your own spiritual energy or open to your guides and you invite them in, whether you're praying to a God, you're praying to Jesus, whoever your higher being is, and you're actively inviting them in and setting a healthy intention for my highest good and the highest good of all.
Hmm.
And then you pull your card. You'll never go wrong. Never.
And that's, I set a positive intention and it could be go hypothetical. Should I continue in this relationship? It feels fairly right. Should I continue? It's not a negative question, but when you grab that card, is that the card you're grabbing because that's the one you should be grabbing? I guess that's where I'm going at it. You know,
All
selection
right.
of the card that should be giving you the answer.
So all right. So I want to be very careful because, people hearing this will have a lot of responses. So I want you to think about having a triangle. You're at one corner, you set your intent, you raise the intent up, and you open yourself to positive energy that is for your highest good and the highest good of all. It completes the triangle, and now I'm flowing. So in that case, you're getting the message you want. I'm sure that you've gotten a card some days that you thought, oh, this isn't for me, and you want to put it back. I don't want you to put it back. I want you to sit with it. The question you asked about this relationship, I feel this is a good relationship. I'd like to get more. I want to feel that I'm growing. Show me where I need to grow. Right? That's a different thing than saying, will this relationship work out? It's about you always growing. I feel good in this. I want to grow. And you may get a card that says, take a step back. Take a step back and really take account of yourself. And you're like, no. I asked about going forward. But that's not the message you needed right now.
Right.
But I hope I'm answering you. You can pull cards. You've been to places where people will pull cards like, oh my God, how did they know? But it's your purest heart's intent. The other thing that doing cards, now take it to another level, cards is a mindful practice. If you've really sat and shuffled your cards, you should ask your guides or your spirit or your inner self, tell me when to stop. Just keep shuffling until I call it a nudge. Just keep shuffling until you hear stop. And when I say hear, everybody's got to figure that out. It's not an audible world, but all of a sudden you're like, I know I'm done. Right? Some mornings I've sat with my card and said, tell me the next step. And I'll know, just split the deck and take the next card. We can over-engineer how to pull cards like we over-engineer everything. So again, I hope I'm answering you directly, but intent is really the name of the game.
Clear.
You already have the answer. By the way, Steve, you already know the answer. So think of the triangle. I go to my higher self, I'm using the cards, and it brings me back to a place where I'm comfortable knowing. Because you already knew, you just couldn't figure out how to get there.
Or you're denying it. Because
You know what? It may be too much to know today. So again, I'm not picking on you, but this is part of my coaching. Don't say deny. Just say, I'm going to write this down and I'll come back to it later.
Sure.
There's something here that I'm not ready for.
Or that's it. You might not be ready for the answer, but and all of us, I agree. And especially, we all know the answer. Anything you need to know, you already know. The challenge is there's stuff around that gets in the way of you hearing the answer. And the one thing that has piloted me in the last number of years in my journey, and our journeys change. All I need is within me now. We got everything we need. It's all there, but sometimes you need a little help to pull it out. So maybe it's a tarot card. Maybe it's somebody named Tim.
Maybe it's going to church. Maybe it's playing a basketball game. So your mind detaches from the focus. And in that gap, in the gap of high stress versus keep your eye on the ball, all of a sudden you created a space. Everything can be a spiritual moment. We don't have to nitpick. So what I am curious about is the other piece of my work is around body energy. As we were talking about this and you're asking about the cards, did you notice any increase in energy or excitement in your body?
Yes, because I'm still processing Kyle, and you reference that name as somebody you learn from, and I have the cards. There's no coincidences. I think I'm still like, wow, that's pretty cool. What are the chances of that at this moment?
So I'd ask you to pay particularly close attention to your trunk, your legs, and your feet. That's where I'm believing you're feeling it the most right now. Your head's having a fun time with all the connection, but the lower half of you is grounding deeply into some of the truths about this. And it can be subtle. Sometimes people will discount it and say, oh, I think my legs are starting to go to sleep. No, we haven't been sitting here that long. You can feel it as an electrical buzz. You can feel it as a coolness. But as we're talking about it, it's exciting to talk to somebody who has had similar experiences, but it's the way our body starts responding. So if I can also grab your attention around that and say, if you start to learn when your body is around something that you want and what it feels like, then now you can practice and recreate it. Now that little piece in your brain, the reticular activating system, is going to start automating those steps. Just like driving, once you train it to seek out the good, it's going to help you find it.
I can tell you that my feet left the grounding mat. I didn't realize it. and now they're on the bottom of the chair, but firmly planted. I mean, firmly planted. Didn't realize it until you said it. I didn't even know I lifted my feet up.
Because what do we do when we're around comfortable people? What do kids do? They pull their feet up and sit cross-legged.
Yeah.
They're comfortable. They get comfortable in the moment. So if you notice, there's probably a lot less stress in your neck and your shoulders. Not that you were carrying a lot, but the type of work you do, sitting at the desk and all of that. Once you start having fun, you started releasing all those DHEA chemicals, the ones that make you happy. Now it's easier to spot things you're grateful for in your life. Now it's easier to have a nice conversation or be a little bit kinder to yourself. These moments go easier when you've dipped into these pools, so to speak.
And this is just the starting point. We're out of time. Tim, how do we find you even to start the conversation? Do you do a free consult?
I do a free consult. The website, just simple. If you go to tmicar.com, it'll pop right up so you can do a free consult. The other way, because I practice out of my home and I also partnered with a community center. The community center allows me to refer to acupuncturist, physical massage therapist, sound therapist. So if someone comes in to see me, I can also refer them to others. That's called Holistic Health Options at the JCC in West Hartford. If they just Google JCC in West Hartford, they're going to find it. Sessions for the most part, even with Reiki, which is why I asked you about your body. And by the way, you're getting excited again, Steve. I know we're out of time, but the energy in your lower body is excited about something. Your legs, the back of your thighs, they're liking the topic. We can do it virtually. The energy works whether you're physically with me or on the screen. So thank you.
And thank you. And once somebody gets past that, because I've had Reiki before and I didn't even talk to the practitioner. It was a text. All right, I'm going to start around 8 o'clock, get in a comfortable spot. Yeah. The things that were revealed after the session were nobody could have known those things. Not that it was just interesting things that came out of it. And that's for another day. But Tim, thank you very much for being here. Learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, real cool stuff. You talk about being grounded. You're it. And looking forward next time we get together.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.